What is up, you amazing people? It is I, Nima, and today I want to talk about a game that completely changed my mind on roguelike games. It wasn't like I had something specifically against roguelike games, they just weren't for me, until I played Skul. But Skul allowed me to see the game not as frustration and failure, but something that's fun. But before we get into it, I really want to remind everybody who's new here to please hit that subscribe button. If you're here and you like the video, please hit the like button. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. You're amazing. So some of you might be like, hey, Nima, what the heck's wrong with you? It's 2022, not 2021. Why are you covering Skul? And it's simple. Namely because I have been grinding out Bayonetta 3, and I'm hoping to have a review in the next day or so. And in that time, the only other game that I've really been playing is Skul. And it's been so long that I feel like I need to release something. But at the same time, it's also because I've really enjoyed this game Skul. And I've not talked about it and not really heard much about it or even seen very many reviews on it. So I thought I would just go ahead and drop this and, give you guys a little bit of love, while at the same time, maybe opening your eyes to something you've never heard of either. Because this is one of those games that I kind of just took a flyer on, and it looked interesting, and I'm glad I did. The thing that really kind of attracted me to Skul, though, was the whole premise, which is essentially, you're the anti-hero. You're the skeleton who is part of a whole skeleton division, and you guys are being overran by those horrible humans. Yes, the heroes are coming in, and they're taking over your land, they're killing your people, and you're there for revenge. I just like the idea of being the bad guy. Yeah, it's very rare in a lot of games where you're actually embracing the moniker of bad guy. Although, I will say this, it's really just in title alone. I kind of actually wish that they would expand on the you're the bad guy thing a little bit more, instead of just, title, and that's it. Everything else is just the same. You wouldn't really know. In fact, as you play the game, you kind of forget that you are the bad guy, in fact. Well, one of the coolest things about this game, and one of the most unique things about the game, is that your character changes their appearance and their attacks and their abilities based on what skull they have on. Yes, you can throw your skull, you can change your skull out. It's really not important to keep your head in this game. And when you take on a new one, you can be anyone from Ghost Rider to a werewolf to Kratos to Groot, as well as your more typical characters, the knight, the mage, characters like that. But the thing I think is interesting is there's always, it seems like, a new character you haven't discovered yet. It literally feels like there are hundreds of different possibilities, and even to the point that I've been playing this game for about the last 3 weeks, and putting in at least maybe an hour a day, I'm still finding new characters that you can become with new abilities, and they all just change the game up so much. Ghost Rider is probably my favorite character to play as. Not only do you get to break out the just silly motorcycle experience where you're just running over all these enemies, but you're also a badass as Ghost Rider. It's hard to take you down. Now, as you're drudging out these levels, you collect some very helpful loot, like the purple gems. Now, the purple gems can be turned into the witch, which is kind of like your friend, and she will upgrade certain aspects of you. She can give you more physical attack, more defense, more health, although that is very difficult to add too much health onto you. But as far as increasing your attack and your defense and your critical, that's exactly how you get it done. And this is something that carries on with you throughout the game. Once you've acquired this ability, it'll stay with you. Now, the other thing is characters. There's a lot of characters who've been trapped by those evil humans. And when you release them, they'll either join your headquarters and help you every run, or they'll just give you some sort of item. It kind of depends on who the character is. Now, if they're just an average civilian, they'll usually give you something to boost your attack or your health or something like that. But if they happen to be a merchant or kind of a magical creature, they'll help you on your way pretty much the entire time. One of the most important that I found, though, was one of the wolf merchants who basically gives you a new skull every time you try. So every run, he gives you a random skull, which is awesome because even before you start the level, you've already had some sort of power up, which is awesome and really helps you through the game. You will also be collecting bones. Now, for about 10 bones, you can permanently awaken some of these other personas that you take on, and that also really helps, especially towards more of the end game. Now, this game is incredibly difficult. I'm not going to say that it's easy, because it's not, and you do find yourself getting hung up on certain bosses or even certain levels, but with enough practice and repetition, you'll overcome it. I'm not somebody who enjoys roguelike games. In fact, the idea of dying over and over really just infuriates me. It doesn't really add to anything, but for some reason this game, I don't know, I don't mind it as much. It really just just spoke to me as something that's fun and something that, I don't know, I didn't really take too serious and really just had a lot of fun with. There are some downsides to the game, and one of them for me is control. I think that when you're playing, the controls actually work well, but you have to get used to the controls. Like, for instance, when it comes to moving and striking at the same time, you really have to make sure that you are moving your character towards the enemy. If you don't, then he'll kind of repel the enemy and just kind of stand there. It's something that's kind of difficult for me to explain, but you'll see it if you play it. And it's not something that's impossible to overcome. We're not talking about like Skyward Sword kind of controls. It's something like once you're aware of it, you can fix it pretty easily. But it's just something that kind of annoyed me, as well as I would say that the controls themselves, I would probably say is like a 6 out of 10, being one of the weaker components of the game, but not enough to break the game or make it unplayable or anything like that, or even to make it frustrating. There are just times when I felt like the controls could be a bit tighter. As far as graphics and visuals, I think this game looks really good for what it is, but it doesn't try to create something massive. Like, this isn't some new game where just, big, vibrant, detailed characters. No, it really is reminiscent of the, Super Nintendo kind of pixel art graphics, where it's not highly detailed, but you can make everything out, and there's nothing that pulls you out of the game. But I will say, like, it's not, I don't know, it's definitely, like, screams retro. I'll put it that way. But as far as the performance goes, I think that this is maybe why they went with the direction they went, because it performs incredibly well. I never had any sort of problems, no crashes, no delays, no frame rate drops, nothing of that sort. The game ran, well, perfect, basically. Now, audio, it's kind of their weaker point, and one of those things, like, with the game that I'm gonna say could improve, but on the other hand, I don't really care, because the audio itself, I turned off after a while, because it did get a little bit repetitive, and the same songs over and over, the same noises over and over. Yeah, I kind of mute this one, but it's not something that I can blame the game for. Probably my fault. I just keep dying and having to replay that area, so that's more on me. But ultimately, I really like Skul, and it's something that's made me think, like, maybe I should replay a lot of other roguelikes with a different mindset, because maybe the whole problem with me not liking roguelikes is, well, me, not the roguelikes themselves. So, I don't know, I figured I'd talk about this game because I haven't heard of anyone talk about it. Now, it's funny because it was on sale and it just came off sale, so I kind of missed the boat on this one, which I apologize, and I should have been more tuned into the situation and watching sales and stuff like that. I just really had my head stuck in Bayonetta 3 right now, and it's still no excuse. I should have been on top of things. So again, I apologize, guys. But anyway, I want to know, what games are you playing? Have you played Skul? What's your thoughts on roguelikes in general? I put up an interesting poll where I asked you guys your thoughts on roguelikes, and it's very just down the center, like, which I think is weird, and I think is cool, because that really shows the kind of community we have. We have just different people who like different things, but no one who ultimately just, we're not a one-trick pony. We're not a cozy game channel or a farm sim channel. We're just a gaming channel, which I really like that. I think that's cool. But anyway, guys, again, please comment down below, not only for the algorithms, but just because I like to talk to you guys. But like always, I'm wishing you health, wealth, and above all, I hope you're truly happy, because you guys make me happy. Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.